Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moroge, I read your entire testimony. Very, very thoughtful, compelling. And you're an investment professional, and one of your observations is about the pressures from Wall Street, the concerns regarding how executive compensation is determined on stock price and stock buybacks. Would you like to just comment on that a little bit, since you abbreviated your testimony for oral purposes, which we appreciate, but would you like to perhaps elaborate on that a little bit, or
Sure.
at least make that point?
Sure, thank you. Basically, when companies repurchase their own stock, they try to send a message out there to the investors that we are bullish about our own company. We believe that our financial performance is good. And it seems that since the CEO, Dennis Muilenburg, obviously before that they still had the equity repurchase program going on, but since he took over, the numbers, the dollar values of the repurchase of the stock went up. And I do believe it's in 2017 when they started selling the 737 MAXs, their revenues swelled, the revenues were growing, and earnings were growing as well. You know, they decided, well, we have a good amount of retained earnings. We can throw the money out there. The stock price, obviously when you send those, the signaling effect to the Wall Street, the stock price will keep going because, you know, investors will keep buying the stock. And the beneficiaries of this are actually the executives, because they benefit from equity compensation. That is the exercise of stock options. We also saw them, you know, raising their revenues and earnings guidance, and obviously this was based on the expectations of the sale of the 737 MAX. We saw them increase dividends. You rarely see a company that increases dividends and at the same time continues to repurchase their own stock. When that happens, then the company is so bullish about their own you know, achievements, and they just want the stock to keep going.
So thank you for that. So the money that they use for repurchasing, it's not constrained in any way. They could spend that money on personnel or plant and equipment or anything else. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, and you know, I really felt that when the board of directors authorized the repurchase of stock worth $20 billion, that was in December of 2017, December of 2018, that's just a couple of months ago, about 6 months ago. That was barely 2 months after the crash of Lion Air Flight 610. So at that point, they knew that there were safety concerns with their jet, and they should have invested on safety instead of repurchasing stock.
Yeah, I recently read, and this is something we're looking into, but a news story where they were laying off senior engineers and hiring contractors, some paid less than $10 an hour, in dispersed locations around the world, which is obviously hard to supervise and integrate in developing software for this airplane. And that's when you talk about the amount of money that they had on a discretionary basis that they could use for bonuses or, you know, dividends or, you know, buybacks, it raises some real concerns. So thank you for expanding on that.
Thank you.
Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. What we have now